This is the first anyone's ever seen of the freelancer in the engine. Yeah!
Vanguard, formerly known as the Bulldog. We really look forward to being able to share that with all of you. And it is also another ship that has been kind of our gold standard, is directly benefiting from these sizes and metrics that we've been doing, so we can fit every single thing in every little detailed spot possible. Yep.
We've learned the most important thing is to get it in the game as soon as possible.
That's cool.
Even if it's just shapes. Get it flying, get it moving, see what works, see what doesn't work, and not try to build an entire ship from scratch and then get it in the game, but build the ship very simple, what we call a white box, which is more like proxy based, and then get it in where it's functional for design to start balance and testing. And then they could already be balance and testing while we're actually doing the final art, and then we're just swapping things out right as we go. And then obviously we do our final pass, which is our pristine version.
Yeah. All the things that bothered me on the original Hornet, I sort of wanted to fix on this new one. So that's what I did. I moved right on to upgrading the Mark I Hornet yet again. But this time it was a full upgrade. It wasn't just upgrading pieces here and there. It was sort of rebuilding the whole ship with smart normals and the proper material PBR values and everything. And so so it could hold up with all the other ships that we've been coming out with for the last year and a half.
I mean, just if you think about it, like if we change one aspect, say on a ship, right? Like we say, okay, you know what, we want to make the thruster effects better. Let's redo our effects manager for the thrusters, right? There are 80 plus functioning ships right now, so that effects team has to go in to every one of those ships and change it out. It's the same if we change how landing gear work, and that's what happens is the game gets bigger. And you change the system over, or you improve a system or add a new system, you have to also make sure it works with this huge amount of stuff that already is there. So in some ways we're prisoner to our own, I don't know whether you'd call it success, but our own ambition there.
What's the biggest problem we've ever encountered down the line that wasn't from a concept? Like you design a concept one way, and then when it comes time to build it, you're like, oh my gosh, this just won't work. What, this? Yeah. The Vanguard?
Yeah.
I love the Vanguard. I love the Vanguard.
It's a really nice image. And it's a really nice concept model, but there are some serious metrics problems with it. This was made without the metrics that we have when we built the ship. So, like I said earlier, when you have to fit certain things of a certain dimension into a space, sometimes you cannot keep the integrity of the visuals.
And when you say without the metrics, you mean that the metrics themselves had developed since the concept was done.
Yeah.
So the concept was done under one set of metrics, and then the game progressed.
Yeah.
And then when it came time to build it, those metrics no longer applied. New doors had to be wider, chairs had to operate somewhat differently.
Ship items, I think, had...
all the components.
When that was done, I don't think we had metrics for the ship items.
There's a lot of functionality now in the ships. It was a lot easier in those early days, I would say, because it was, there was functionality, but it was like, let's just throw in a door, throw in a table. Yeah, it looks cool.
We didn't quite have the metrics.
Yeah, now everything has to hit metrics. Yeah, this is pre-metric, pre everything really.
I mean, when we started, we had none of that stuff nailed down, did we? It was a wild west. It was just figure it out as we go forward.
But Chris was just like, yeah, you need a ship for squadron. Like just get one built.
New features are ever evolving and ever being developed. But it's only when you kind of have that feature working that you appreciate what needs to be done to kind of deliver that to the player. But yeah, we will be going back and revisit it, going back and adding dashboard buttons and player storage and everything else that is currently required, and I expect lots of future new fun things as well.
Physical damage is a big undertaking. It's not just about ships. This is about everything in the game. And generally, the top level intent that Chris has had for this system is broad. Every material in the game should be a real material, has, you know, tensile strength and all the things you would expect of a real material. So, you know, but it's also going to affect the art setup itself. Because all of that stuff comes into play, because obviously we don't want to have an aluminum on the ship. Well, maybe that's a bad example, but let's say aluminum on a ship. We don't want to have that aluminum act differently or read differently on a box, on a character, and do something different. So anyways, long story short, affects a lot of teams. It would be less complex if we didn't have any assets. But again, you know, here we are a couple of years running. So we've got a lot of assets already in place that need to be updated and converted to such a system. Here we are a couple of years running. So we've got a lot of assets already in place that need to be updated and converted to such a system.
Another change might be that this also affects mass and also center of mass. And so our flight model will have to get updated to accommodate the more realistic physics that will get informed by the art that's generated by the artists.
The Constellation Taurus is coming with 3.14, the last variant of one of our original 5 pledge ships. What the hell took so long? No. Does the Constellation Taurus represent the gold standard for the entire Constellation series of starships?
Short answer, no.
Let's shift gears now to spaceships. Specifically Aegis stalwarts, the Gladius, Saber, and Retaliator, and find out what it really means to be the gold standard in a pipeline that is continuously evolving to this day and beyond.
The gold standard pass is what we are terming this current pass on the vehicles. Gold standard is finishing the ship to as complete a standard as we can with the feature set that we have right now in the game. Obviously going to go through all the ships, but we are going to focus on the ones that feature heavily in Squadron 42 first, and then we will roll on to your favourite ship afterwards.
Supporting features that have come online since that ship was released. That's probably the best way of kind of describing what gold standard is, really. If we take the kind of Retaliator as an example, unfortunately some of the corridor spaces were just a little bit too small to allow our AI to navigate comfortably through it, so we had to just go in and you know, massage things around a little bit. Things that are a little bit more invasive, I guess, is things like adding big airlocks to the side of ships that didn't necessarily have airlocks in the right position. It's kind of ever evolving as well. Because you know, as new features come online, so you know, a gold standard 2 years ago might not have had the refueling ports in it. So yeah, we always joke about, oh, we've done gold standard, do we go on to platinum standard? Like, how far do we go? But it's just like that kind of like I guess that ever moving line of what we want to, where we want the game to be.
It's essentially a review process of the ship to bring it up to whatever today's current Star Citizen standard is. As more, as you said, as more features, as stuff come online, adding fuel ports is a great one. Going back to the ships and going, oh, all of these need fuel parts that we didn't know where to add or how, because we didn't know how refueling was going to work when we were building those ships. But now it's going back and adding those and stuff. With the dev cycle being so long for Star Citizen, how do you deal with the ever-changing graphics tech and rework and still keep moving forward?
We have to maintain everything that has been built. We can't say, oh, we've done this new technology, but these 5 spaceships don't work anymore. That's just not an option. So we'll ship 2 versions of the shader, the new one and the old one, and then somebody, when they get the chance, will go back to that ship, assign the new shader, maybe fix up anything that needs fixing up, and then we're good again. But you know, we can't demand that they work at the same frequencies as us, so we'll do the new technology and they will opt into it when they get round to it. And that's constantly happening. We have lots of different technologies that are type of in progress of type of being rolled out across the assets.
I imagine animation is going to be a major factor in this
Absolutely.
Too. Say you have something on top of the Gladius, the NPC needs to be able to get up there, you know, which means that they need to understand that in order to get up there, I need to grab the ladders. move them over to the Gladius. And then when they get up there, you need to make sure that they've got the animations to enter and it's all the correct metrics, which isn't always the case, so then you've got to go back to the artist and say, this isn't a metric. And usually you have to design a metric first and then get them to change their baby into something that you've written down months or sometimes years later.
Will ships with docking collars on top, such as the Constellation, be reworked in the future, or will there be a way to use these? I don't see how we can reach them.
Just got to believe. Ideally, we'd have them all on the side, and I think as we go through the gold standards on a lot of ships, you'll see that happen. But if for some reason we can't, and they're on the top or they're on the bottom, gravity control will help you in that instance, and that you will be able to turn off gravity for that area, and then you can just out the.
See, this is all like news to me, because I'm sure John said to me in the past that no, we've got to go on the side, and I'm like, oh god, all right, fair enough. I don't want to give you the hope of. Yeah, now you give me that hope, John. So every time I'm going to come to you and be like, no, just change gravity, it's fine.
All of their damage and underlying damage messages were created for a damage feature. That was worked on many years ago, and now we're like, well, that works for salvage, but some of it works great, some of it didn't. I love supporting new features. For us to kind of take all of the damage meshes and the UV2s on ships and everything and do them to a gold standard is years of work, and I don't want to be the person that's holding back a feature that can be really good fun. For the sake of me being like, no, well, you can kind of see through that bit, and then you kind of see through this bit.
Yeah, a lot of our ships were made before we had, like, there was no feature work had been done on it, so we didn't know how we were going to tackle it. So we were just making the best decisions we could at the time.
It's more the older content that was kind of, when we first started out, we were kind of discovering what a ship.
It's why each one of these that we make, we get better at it.
Yeah.
Ideally.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
The rock. Yes.
It's fine.
Cut you off. It's like, no, terminate it. Cut them off.
Was that the emergency button?
Yeah.
Kill it. Here we are, a couple of years running.